Good evening. Hello. Welcome. I am Reverend Allison Palm, and I serve as the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashua, which is the building you are sitting in right now. And we are so pleased. Thank you. I am so pleased to have you all in our sanctuary tonight to talk about housing, which is an issue I know is vitally important to the Nashua community. Whenever we hold events in this space in our sanctuary, we begin with an acknowledgement of the land and the people who originally inhabited it. This feels especially important tonight as we talk about housing, an issue that is so connected to the land and to the notion of home. Our church resides in Nashua, place of two rivers now called Nashua, in Indakina, the sacred unceded homelands and waterways stewarded by the Pennacook, Abenaki, and Wabanaki peoples for hundreds of generations. Our forum tonight is hosted by two groups, the Greater Nashua Interfaith Housing Justice Group and the Granite State Organizing Project. The Granite State Organizing Project was founded over 20 years ago for the purpose of building the power necessary to create lasting social and economic justice in southern New Hampshire, and is now the largest grassroots community organization in New Hampshire, made up of thousands of members, including 31 member groups representing thousands of New Hampshire families. GSOP seeks to unite people to strengthen our voice in the decisions that affect our communities. Greater Nashua Interfaith Housing Justice is a group of faith leaders in the Greater Nashua area who came together more than 4 years ago to advocate for affordable housing in Nashua. Guided by the teachings of our faiths, we believe deeply that everybody deserves a safe, affordable place to live. And I'm going to invite the folks who are a part of that group, if you could just raise your hands so we can see you. Thank you. You will hear from them later tonight. We are so grateful to have so many members of the community here tonight, and also especially to be joined by so many candidates. We are thankful that you have taken time out of your busy lives to be here. This includes, and I'm going to introduce you all, so when I say your names, you can wave a hand so we know who you are. That would be great. So this includes our two candidates for mayor, Jim Donchis and Mike Susi. And it was 14, but more showed up, so many candidates for the Board of Aldermen, and I'm going to name them ward by ward. So for Ward 1, we have Tyler Guvera and Jim Ravin. For Ward 2, we have Richard Dowd, and Julie Smith is also running, but we couldn't figure out how to reach her, so she's not with us tonight. For the next 3 wards, we have 3 unopposed candidates who are not sitting up here. They have ceded their time to the candidates who are running against other people, but are glad to be here to listen and always happy to talk to you all about housing. So that is Ward 3, Patricia Klee, Ward 4, Tom Lopez, and Ward 5, Ernest Jetty. Thank you. And then in Ward 6, we have Vendrafalada Smith. And the other person running in Ward 6, Chris Thibodeau, couldn't be here tonight. He did send a statement, which we're happy to share with any Ward 6 voters. For Ward 7, we have Tim Senat and Sandra Ziem. For Ward 8, we have Derek Tebow and Dave McLaughlin, who is not with us tonight. Again, we couldn't find a way to contact him. Ward 9, we have John Sullivan and Marty Jack over there. And then for Aldermen at Large, we have with us Ben Clemens, Lori Wilshire, Michael O'Brien, and Sean Rogers. Did I miss anyone? Wonderful. There also is one more alderman at large candidate who is not with us tonight, Alex Como. So thank you again to all the candidates, and you will hear from them later. Here in Nashua, we know that there is a serious shortage of housing, especially affordable housing. We define affordable as meaning housing that costs no more than 30% of a household's income for households who earn less than 80% of the area median income. A 2020 Nashua housing study calculated that we would need about 5,000 new units of housing to be developed in Nashua to stabilize the market. We in the Greater Nashua Interfaith Housing Justice Group believe that 2,000 of those units, at least, should be affordable. That simply adding market rate housing is not enough to serve the residents of Nashua. Since then, only about 200 units of affordable housing have been built, which is less than 10% of that goal. There are some things in the works, we know, but we are certainly not on track to meet a 2,000 unit goal. And in the meantime, anyone who has looked for housing recently knows that rents continue to rise much faster than inflation, and the housing crisis in our city has only worsened. Before we turn to hear from our candidates, we have some community members, 4 community members, who would like to share their stories, starting with Cliff Cahill. Cliff? Yeah. Actually, before you begin, I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce our interpreters. You can stay up here. Stay up here with me. I'll move over. I forgot to introduce our interpreters. We do have... Perfect. I'm sorry, I should have paused. So Angela Mercado is going to interpret for us. Perfect.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Angela Mercado, and I am a community member here for Nashua for more than 25 years and collaborate with GSOP. So I am just going to translate what was just said. Okay. Le vamos a interpretar a las familias que hablan español. Muchas gracias por estar aquí en esta noche. Le queremos decir que la ciudad de Nashua tiene un serio problema de viviendas, ¿verdad? Como ya lo sabemos. Las viviendas cuestan no más de 30% de su entrada principal, que es lamentable que solamente las personas ganan un 80% anualmente. En el 2020, la ciudad de Nashua y el Departamento de Viviendas calculó que Nashua va a necesitar mínimo de 5,000 viviendas más. Eso fue en el 2020. Los que desarrollan las viviendas en Nashua y dicen que más o menos va a estabilizarse las viviendas en 10 años. Esto va a durar un largo tiempo, ¿verdad? Dice que hay más de 200 unidades que se están siendo construidas para familias de bajos recursos y el porcentaje solamente es un 10%. Necesitamos trabajar mucho para conseguir nuestras metas, que son 2,000 unidades, ¿verdad? Así que por ahora la ciudad de Nashua sabe que esta es una crisis. Estamos en crisis de vivienda. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. I'm here past my bedtime because I thought it was an important topic. Okay. Is it better?
Right. And I'm going to interpret what you say.
Oh, okay. Oh, gee. I can barely interpret what I say.
Long paragraphs.
Ready?
Every sentence you can just
Oh,
somehow.
Every sentence?
Every sentence.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was important to be here because it's a problem that we ran into just recently. We've been where we are in Nashua in 9, whatever the... Yeah. For about a year. We were in apartments down in Nashua off of the big route that goes through there. And, okay. Is that better? Yeah, all right. It's a directional mic. All right. We were in apartments, and a lot of our friends started to get notices about their rent. We were sitting, I think, at $1,700 a month at the time. And we got our notice that went up to $2,400. Go ahead. Two bedroom.
Ok, so él se dio cuenta que tenía muchos problemas en la área de la Junta 9, ¿verdad? Dice que estaban pagando de 1,700 a 2,400 por un 2 dormitorio.
And we had friends in the apartments that, let's see, one was at $1,900 and their rent went up $1,000.
Dice que tenían unos amistades que su renta era 1,900 y subió $1,000 más.
And a ton of, there were about 40% of the people in the apartment complex had to move.
40% de las personas de esa vivienda tuvieron que buscar otros lugares donde vivir.
We landed in a nice area, but a lot of people didn't and had to move farther away from their jobs, out of Nashua. That should be important to Nashua, I think.
Dice que la mayoría se tuvieron que mudar a otros lugares, pero ellos están en un buen lugar por ahora.
What we found is that the landlords who are from Arizona, and I don't know how many landlords there are that are actually from New Hampshire, probably not too many anymore.
Dice que los dueños de vivienda eran de un estado de Arizona y quería saber más o menos cuáles son los dueños que sean de New Hampshire.
And some people protested, but when the landlord is out in Arizona, they really don't hear protests. So.
Algunas personas protestaron, pero cuando los dueños de vivienda están en Arizona es difícil que puedan hacer algo.
And from what we saw looking for apartments, all the apartments were priced at or above what a house would cost to buy, if you had the down payment, and if you had the want to buy a house. Other than that, we saw as many, some up to $3,000, some past that, and I don't know anywhere that had anything less than $1,700 or $1,800, and for a lot of people, that's just out of reach.
Dice que lamentablemente muchos de los apartamentos estaban al precio tan alto como $3,000 y estaban fuera de su alcance.
The impact on the families that had to move, the kids that had to move, the jobs that they had to move from, sometimes far enough away that they had to just quit their jobs. I'm sure Nashua is having a problem getting people to work the regular jobs.
Dice que lamentablemente muchas de esas familias se mudaron a otros lugares por falta de vivienda.
And there are so many things, so many areas that it affects the whole of Nashua.
Y muchas áreas que son muy difíciles de seguir adelante aquí en Nashua.
Merchants, restaurants, everybody is affected by it.
Todos están afectados, los mercaderes, las tiendas y la comunidad de negocios está afectado por esta situación.
I'd like to hear from the people up on the front now, what types of things they're going to try to alleviate the problem. The problem's been building for 20 years. Nothing has been done, or very little has been done, I should say.
Dice que él quiere escuchar de algún comentario de las personas que están aquí adelante, porque en 20 años nada ha cambiado.
It may not be of importance to business people, but I think it should be. And that's about all I have to say.
Que es bien importante lo que opinen las personas.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cliff. Our next story will be from Tonya Nisley.
Hi, how are you this evening? My name is Tonya Nisley. I am a Ward 7 resident. I just want to start with a question with the word affordable. What does hearing the word affordable mean to you? Does affordable mean inexpensive? It means reasonably priced. If you look in the dictionary, they even put, if you look in the dictionary and you look under the word affordable, they actually have the words affordable housing quotation marked.
So ella se llama Tania, ella vive en la área 7, ¿verdad? Y ella quiere saber, tiene una pregunta, que qué significa lo que es una vivienda confortable, con un precio confortable.
But what is affordable here in Nashua for us? If you are working 40 hours a week in the city of Nashua and you're making $15 an hour, which is pretty much the minimum go in our city, you're bringing home $448 a week, which makes a monthly income of $2,356 a month. And if you go online and you start to look for a place, oh, sorry, I get all
I lost
excited.
track about the numbers there. Yes, Tania dice que más o menos las personas que ganan un promedio de 40 horas a $15 la hora, gana un por ciento de 448 a la semana, al mes vendría ganando 2,356.
Now, if you're looking for an apartment in Nashua,
Si están
and
buscando
you
un
just happen
apartamento
to
en
be
Nashua,
lucky enough to be single and be looking for a studio apartment, you just may be able to get into that studio apartment. You may not be able to eat or have transportation, but that will cover the $1,700, $1,400, and $1,500 rents for those studio apartments.
dice, si tiene la suerte de ser una persona sola, que no tenga hijos y esté buscando un estudio, un apartamento de un dormitorio, pueda que consigan algo en $1,700.
What really worries me is when I was calculating wages and calculating rentals, I was really worried because when you really come up and you get up to the higher wages, I don't know if any of you are lucky enough to be making $30 to $35 an hour, but on that wage, you'll be making $3,300 to $3,800 a month, which you will maybe be able to afford a one-bedroom, but you might not be able to afford having children to raise because that might be an extra cost on you. And you might not be able to, I don't know, save up and maybe get a two-bedroom with an office to start a business.
Tania dice que ella estaba haciendo sus cálculos, ¿verdad? Pero ¿cuánto ganan las personas? Y para usted rentar y pagar tanto de alquiler, tiene que más o menos estar ganando $30, $35 por hora para así calificar y tener un apartamento decente. Pero sin contar que tengan hijos, sin contar que tengan los gastos extras.
I know my personal story. I'm lucky enough to be working in the community, but I'm also disabled and on Social Security. And I know that I need to be looking for a place to live also come June. And I know that I'm going to have to start trying to save money when legally I'm not even allowed to save over $2,000. And I'm wondering how I'm going to be able to do that and still find a place to live. So I'm just going to leave all of you with the thought of thinking about the word affordable and how we use it. And also, if we can think about people and their incomes.
Dice que lamentablemente, pues aunque ella sí tenga trabajo, pero desafortunadamente está deshabilitada y no puede reunir hasta $2,000 porque tiene que mudarse en junio, ella se pregunta qué va a suceder con su problema, ¿verdad? Y quiere dejarle en conciencia a las personas qué significa una vivienda que esté a un precio disponible.
To start changing the word affordable because it is subjectable to the many residents that live in our beautiful, beautiful town. And please start talking about income-based housing. Housing that doesn't cost more than a third of your income. So we are still able to afford groceries, and we are still able to afford fun and transportation. Thank you so much.
Ella dice que deberían ellos pensar, ¿verdad?, de poner el nombre de las viviendas un poco que sea más accesible, más cómodo y no tener que los precios ser el tercera parte de su entrada, ¿verdad? 3 veces más de lo que ella gana para ella poder tener compras y otras cosas. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Tonya. We have 2 more stories that we'll hear, and I'm going to let Angela introduce these speakers.
Okay, then we have here Zacharias. He's a member from the community right here in Nashua.
Buenas noches para todos los aquí presentes.
Good evening, everyone.
Yo estoy de acuerdo con Tania y todo lo que han hablado aquí esta noche.
I agree with what Tanya and everyone else spoke tonight.
Yo como representante de la comunidad también he pasado por esa misma situación de incapacidad, de no poder laborar.
I, the same as a member here in Nashua, I can speak about what disability I have.
Y las viviendas están a un costo muy elevado, se nos hace un poco difícil.
Housing, the prices are very elevated and it's very difficult.
Hemos solicitado housing, pero la lista de espera es muy larga y los recursos no los tenemos y estamos pasando por una situación muy difícil, la mayoría de los compueblanos de este estado, de New Hampshire, porque las cosas están muy difíciles, los salarios muy bajos y la canasta familiar y la renta de la vivienda muy alta.
I have applied for housing, and the housing waiting list is very lengthy. And I can say that jobs are not available, and in order to even buy my basket of food is difficult.
Es cuanto, yo espero que las autoridades aquí presentes tomen carta en el asunto para ver si podemos mejorar un poco la situación de este estado, que yo sé que otros también están pasando por la misma situación.
I hope everybody, all the authorities can do something so it can make a change, a difference here in Nashua,
Muchas gracias para
New
todos.
Hampshire. Sorry.
Feliz noche.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to have Jeffracy. We're going to be stopping.
I'm just helping her out. Okay, so now we have Javier. He's going to share his story.
Buenas noches a todos.
Good night, everybody.
Muchísimas gracias por la oportunidad de poder estar frente a ustedes.
Thank you for the opportunity to be up here speaking to you guys.
Primero, ante nada, quiero agradecerles por permitirnos a nosotros ser parte de la comunidad y agradecerles porque tienen una ciudad hermosa.
I want to thank everybody for giving us the opportunity to be here and be part of the group and sharing our story. And I also want to say that this is a beautiful city.
Yo trabajo en el sector de la construcción y estoy pasando muchísimas dificultades.
I work in construction and I'm also going through a lot of difficulties.
Las excesivas condiciones que se nos presentan para poder alquilar, los costos altísimos y el ingreso tan bajo, se nos hace prácticamente muy difícil poder entrar en una vivienda honorable.
Income is very low from working and everything, all the prices are skyrocketed, so it has become extremely hard to be able to find an affordable housing or a comfortable housing.
Yo llevo ya aproximadamente 3 meses buscando una vivienda a la que mi familia y yo podamos ingresar.
I've been searching for 3 months for a house where me and my family can live in.
Y les puedo decir que son los requisitos y el ingreso lo que me limita a poder entrar en una vivienda apta para vivir.
The prerequisite and income is what making it harder for me to find a house.
A mí me gustaría pues seguir contribuyendo a la comunidad y poder seguir disfrutando de esta ciudad tan hermosa. Y les agradezco nuevamente mucho la oportunidad que me han permitido estar frente a ustedes.
I would like to keep being part of the community and giving to the community And I want to thank everybody again for allowing me to be here today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of our storytellers.
Gracias a todos los que contaron su historia.
I now have a question which we would like each candidate to take no more than 2 minutes to address. And we want to acknowledge that 2 minutes is short and these problems are complicated. So we hope that this is just the beginning of the conversation.
So ahora le vamos a hacer preguntas a los candidatos que tenemos acá arriba y nada más le dan 2 minutos para responder la pregunta.
And Rabbi John Spears-Havet will be serving as our timekeeper. When he holds up a yellow piece of paper, that means you have 15 seconds left.
Cuando muestran el papel amarillo significa que tienen 15 segundos.
And when the red piece of paper comes up,
Y el rojo
then you are done.
significa que terminaron.
I ask that you be mindful of pausing to allow for translation. That time will not be included in your 2 minutes.
Tengan cuenta que tienen que tomar pausa para poder traducir.
Our question is,
La pregunta es,
given what you've heard, what are your policy priorities for addressing housing equity and lack of available inventory?
con la información que pudieron escuchar, ¿cuál es lo... I'm sorry. So, give me what you heard. Diciendo lo que cuál es su póliza, prioridades para hablar sobre la housing, la equalidad y la falta de ayuda disponible que hay. De ayuda que no está disponible.
And so we're going to switch microphones.
Vamos a cambiar el micrófono.
And we're gonna actually pass this microphone around among the candidates, so you don't have to come up here and sit
So van
down.
a pasar el micrófono y cada uno va a responder la pregunta.
You can certainly come up if you want. Yes.
Y se pueden parar si quieren.
And we're gonna start with our 2 candidates for mayor. So we can let's begin with Mike Susi,
Vamos a empezar con Mike Susi.
and you're welcome to come up here.
Thank you so much. What I heard today was, I think, is probably the most important: income-based housing. Affordable can mean a lot of different things. Okay, but we have to ask ourselves, how did we get here in the first place? Okay, why is housing so unaffordable? Well, there are a couple of reasons.
So, la pregunta es, ¿cómo llegamos a esta situación el día de hoy? Esa es la pregunta, porque poder pagar una casa, esa pregunta la saben, pero la pregunta es, ¿cómo llegamos donde estamos el día de hoy?
Very competitive out there. The landlords get this money because it's very, very competitive. I worry that we build 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 apartments. Who's getting it? Are people in Massachusetts who are paying far more money down there coming up here because it's more affordable and it's taking housing away from us? I don't know the answer to that, but that's a possibility, right? And property tax.
So, la pregunta es, él piensa que es como competición. La gente son competitivos. So, la gente de Massachusetts está pensando, ¿será que la gente de Massachusetts están bajando para acá? Porque aquí la casa es más barata que Massachusetts.
Landlords raise the price of their rent when property taxes go up. Believe it or not, some landlords do this for a living, okay? We need to knock down that final number of how much our annual budget is. This year, I believe it's $412 million. We need to knock that down. So that's one thing. We need to knock that down, income-based property, and we have to build more. That's one thing I do appreciate that Mayor Donchis has done. He's been building, and there'll be no change on my part if I become mayor. We need to continue to build because that will continue to compete. It'll be competitive, more competitive.
So, dice, una de las maneras es construir más vivienda que se pueda pagar. Otra razón es que él dice que como los taxes suben todos los años, los landlords, los que son dueños de casa, están subiendo la renta. So, eso es otra cosa que hay que controlar.
I worry that it's going to get worse because some of our seniors are going to be taxed out of their homes. I worry about our youngest generation because they're paying for college $80,000 in debt. And now they got health care. If they're not on their parents' health care, they're going to have to pay another $1,800 for that. how can they afford $2,200 for rent? Okay, that's our most troubled young group that they're not going to be able to either afford health care or rent. Okay, so we need.
Él ahora mismo está preocupado que este problema pueda seguir continuando por la razón que hay muchos estudiantes que ahora mismo tienen que pagar la universidad, ya lo van a sacar del seguro médico de los padres o ese otro costo que van a tener. So, es algo que él teme que siga sucediendo.
Okay, I just got a yellow card in soccer. That means nothing good. So I'm going to close it up at that, and I thank you for your time.
Gracias por su tiempo.
Thank you. And I'll invite our other candidate for mayor, Jim Doncha.
Ahora tenemos Jim Dunches.
Well, first, I would like to thank the Interfaith Council for all the work you've done over the past few years to advocate for affordable housing. You've definitely affected the city's thinking and are the community's conscience regarding all of this. So thank you very much for your help, and thank you for everyone who told your stories. The stories that we hear over time are very impactful and motivate us to continue to work hard to try to help as many people as we can.
Le quiero agradecer a todos los que están luchando para poder resolver este problema. También le quiero agradecer a todos los que vinieron el día de hoy y contaron su historia. Dijo que su historia es sumamente importante y sí hace una diferencia.
So I'm working always with the Board of Aldermen to try to take as many steps as we can to stimulate the development of housing at all levels of affordability, but especially for those who are most needy. The biggest or a large policy issue we addressed was when we got $16 million of ARPA funds. Those are federal recovery funds. We took community input. We listened to the Interfaith Council, and although there were many different needs we could have tried to address with that, we dedicated $10 million of the 16 to an affordable housing trust fund, which is designed to over time stimulate the development of affordable housing.
So ellos recibieron un fondo de $16,000 y algo que estaba comentando es que en vez de usar ese dinero para otro propósito, ellos cogieron $10,000 de ese fondo para ponerlo en el fondo de housing para ver cómo ellos pueden ayudar a la comunidad a conseguirle housing que puedan pagar.
We also passed an inclusionary zoning ordinance which says that 20% of new housing, especially rental housing, of any project needs to be affordable.
So, ellos pusieron también que 20% de todos los edificios de housing que hagan sí tienen que ser de bajo ingreso.
In terms of the units that we have been able to build,
Sorry, can you repeat that?
in terms of the units we've been able to build,
So, habla en términos de los edificios que sí han construido.
a few years back we used home funds. Those are federal funds allocated to the city to do the Marshall Street apartments.
Ellos usaron fondo del Home Fund, que es el fondo de casa de federal para construir los apartamentos que están en Marshall Street.
We work with the Housing Authority to create 216 units at Monahan Manor, which are about to open.
Y lo que van a abrir ahora, lo de Madmen, son 260 apartamentos.
We are using home funds again at 249 Main Street with NeighborWorks to create 46 units of housing.
Y van a ser 46 unidades en la Main Street.
And as we get to other questions, I can talk about the rest of it.
Y después responderé las otras preguntas.
Thank you so much. So now what I'm going to do, you can stay here, but I'm going to walk with this microphone all the way down to this end.
Ahora
And
vamos
I'm
a
gonna-
caminar al fondo.
And I'm going to invite you to just kind of go down the row, pass the microphone down when you're done. And if you could introduce yourselves and reiterate which ward or at-large position you're running for.
Se van a introducir y decir de dónde vienen.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tyler Gouvet, and I have the distinct honor of representing Ward 1 Nashua in the Aldermanic Chamber.
Está representando Ward 1 de Nashua.
Like a lot of the speakers we heard about earlier tonight, I have also found myself in the same situation as them.
Dijo, yo también me he encontrado en las mismas situaciones de lo que están aquí hablando sobre sus situaciones también.
Just 3 years ago, my wife and I were looking at Nashua and where to live, and being a fourth generation Nashuan, we wanted to live here, and it was simple, but it came down to could we afford it?
So, yo y mi esposa hace 4 años, estuvimos en la misma situación, que queríamos vivir aquí en Nashua, y llegó al punto que dijimos si es algo que nosotros podemos pagar.
And at that time, the simple answer was no, we couldn't.
Y la respuesta para esa pregunta fue no podíamos pagarlo.
I was a state employee, my wife working for the city, and 2 public servant incomes just simply wasn't enough to do it here in Nashua.
Yo trabajaba para el Estado y mi esposa trabajaba para la ciudad y nuestro ingreso no era lo suficiente.
But through the grace of God, one night we were able to find the New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority First-Time Homebuyers Program.
Y gracias a Dios pudimos encontrarle programas de compradores por primera vez y eso nos ayudó a poder comprar nuestra casa.
That program alone is the single reason why we are so fortunate to be able to live in Nashua. That help of the assistance of a down payment on a condo in Hollis Crossing where we live now is the reason why we can live in Nashua.
Esa fue la única razón por la cual pudimos vivir en Nashua, porque esa ayuda nos ayudó a poder pagar el down payment de un apartamento que tenemos y por esa razón vivimos aquí en Nashua.
There's so many programs like that and others that I feel the community needs to be educated about because they're there for the offering, but you have to go find them. And it wasn't easy for us to find it. It took months and months of research.
Ellos hay programas así que ayudan a las personas que quieren comprar casa y apartamento. Lo que tenemos que hacer es educar más a la comunidad sobre programas así que hay en la comunidad para que ellos sepan que la ayuda sí está ahí, lo que hay que buscarla.
So through education, I feel we can help lower the cost of housing here. And then also through multiple other programs like the mayor said, the inclusionary zoning, which is fantastic. But at the same time, we need to make sure that these developers can't buy their way out of the inclusionary housing, that they have to include these units.
Por educación y también por programas que hay en la comunidad, yo sé que nosotros podemos ayudar a la situación de el alto costo de la casa.
I'll keep it short at those two, but it is truly incredible what our city has to offer, and I feel we're going to work tirelessly to continue to make it affordable, not just for the people in Boston who come and live here at night, but for everybody and generations that come here in Nashua.
Vamos a trabajar bien duro para que las casas aquí en Nashua puedan ser, que uno la pueda pagar, no nada más para la gente que vienen de Boston, sino para cualquier gente que estén aquí ahora mismo que la puedan rentar su casa.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jim Ravan. I'm running for Alderman in Ward 1.
El de
Thank
Ward
you,
1
Tyler.
también.
A little bit about me. I was born in the South. We came north when I was very young. And to cut to the chase, I didn't have running water in my house until I was 9 years old.
Yo soy del sur, vine a norte cuando estaba chiquito y pasé lo corto, yo no tenía agua en mi casa hasta que cumplí los 9 años.
I didn't have a bathroom inside my house until I was 15.
Y no tuve un baño en mi casa, adentro de la casa, hasta los 15 años.
So believe me, I get it.
So créeme, yo lo entiendo.
There are two things. I have a whole bunch of statistics, but we've heard a whole bunch, and they're all true. It's extremely expensive to live here. I have 2 ideas.
Es bien caro vivir aquí, pero tengo 2 ideas.
The first idea is to increase the number of multiple unit dwellings in the city.
La primera idea es subir las unidades.
And that means between 2 and 4 units per house. That makes the lots small enough, and it increases the effectiveness of the infrastructure used to build them and to live in them.
So, prácticamente hacer más apartamentos, más unidades.
And also to incentivize the builders to build them.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I'm sorry?
Can you repeat that?
and to create a program to incentivize the builders to build them.
Y crear programas para educar a la gente lo que están construyendo.
Yeah. And also make it essentially, as it is in the manor, to make it cost-based, incentivized housing for the people to live there.
Y el costo de la vivienda donde la gente van a vivir.
And the last idea, remember the asphalt plant? It's still here, we're going to court, but how about if we, instead of building an asphalt plant there, we built, we built essentially task-based higher education training for people to earn more after they get out of high school, so they can learn how to program, so they can learn high-tech jobs, so they can learn, what's it called? So they can learn to be plumbers and work in the trades. Thank you.
El AFA Plan sigue aquí. So, en vez de hacer un AFA Plan aquí en la comunidad, mi segunda idea es mejor construir manera para la gente que ya después que se gradúen poder educarse, poder conseguir una carrera o un certificado o algo para poder ganar más dinero.
Education is certainly a way to earn more. It helped me, and it will help everyone.
Educación sí es una manera para poder ganar más dinero. Me ha ayudado a mí y puede ayudar a los demás.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Good evening. My name's Rick Dowd, and I'm running for Ward 2 Alderman. This will be my 7th term. I'm a lifelong resident of Nashua, and I can tell you that it bothers me a lot when I find that we can't find affordable housing for people.
Este es mi 7 término corriendo acá y soy residente de Nashua desde hace mucho tiempo y me molesta saber que la gente está teniendo dificultad de conseguir vivienda donde puedan vivir a buen costo.
To me, the most important thing that we can do for the citizens of Nashua is ensuring they have an affordable, safe place to live and raise their families.
Es para yo asegurarme que la gente pueda tener una vivienda sana, salva y una vivienda donde puedan pagar el costo.
And I can tell you that with my experience, I've been the chair of the zoning board, I'm the chair of the Joint Special School Building Committee, and I've built a number of schools here in Nashua. I can tell you, working with contractors, that we have to do something as a board of aldermen and a city to incentivize contractors to build affordable housing.
Yo lidiando con contratadores de aquí de Nashua, tenemos que trabajar con eso para que los contratadores puedan construir casas aquí en Nashua que se puedan pagar.
We have done a lot, but we need to do a lot more.
Hemos hecho mucho, pero necesitamos hacer más.
So one of the things that I've been working with the planning director on is we've got to look at our zoning laws and other laws affecting the building of affordable units. Contractors don't build unless they're making a profit.
Los contratos no están construyendo si no sacan propina, si no sacan su propio beneficio. So nosotros estamos mirando zonas que están siendo afectadas.
So we need to do things about making some of that federal funds and funds through the state more accessible to them, being able to change our zoning laws so that we can get things done faster, reduce some of our fees if they're building affordable housing, and there are other things that we can do.
So, hay muchas cosas que podemos hacer. So, estamos mirando el fondo que el gobierno ofrece para poder pagar a los contratadores para que construyan más rápido y construyan edificios que puedan ser, que se puedan pagar para la comunidad de Nashua.
One of the other things we can do is we can develop a task force where we bring in some of these builders, sit down with them, find out where they lack the incentives to build the homes that we need for people to have affordable places to raise their families, and look at the things that are implementing that not being done, so that we as a board of aldermen in the city can change those things so that everyone can have a place to live.
So, otra cosa que podemos hacer es sentarnos con esos contratadores y lo que pagan los taxes y ver, implementar qué está sucediendo para saber por qué esta casa y este costo está de la manera que está.
Before I end, I just want to thank the interpreters because that is not an easy job. So I think we ought to give them a
Le quiero
hand.
agradecer.
Thank you. I'm Marty Jack. I'm serving my 6th term as a state representative, and I'm a candidate for Ward 9 Alderman.
Ward 9 y este es mi 7º término.
I'm supporting an all-of-the-above approach. We can come at this from the income side. The previous speaker mentioned education to be able to get a job that pays more. We can also work on increasing base wages. So the income side. On the development side, it's a difficult problem. In order to build a building, you need land, and land in the city is hard to find. It needs to be in the right place. You don't put an apartment building next to an industrial plant that's making a lot of noise. The point about federal funding is great. It's great that we're able to leverage federal funding when it's available. We need to leverage state funding when it's available. We need to
Okay, so él está hablando que él está de acuerdo con lo que dijeron los demás compañeros. So primero vamos a hablar de la economía. So él piensa que subiendo lo que uno está ganando, eso hay que trabajar en eso, en subir lo que están ganando en el trabajo, y la educación. Él dijo que sí, la educación también es sumamente importante. Él dijo el otro problema es para construir se necesita tierra. Para tener tierra, aquí tiene que ser una zona específica y en el momento no hay muchos lugares donde se pueda construir.
Thank you. It's hard for the Board of Aldermen to really do everything in this area because it's a team effort. It requires the mayor's office, the planning board, the development people in the city government, and the planning board, zoning board. So the Board of Aldermen can't do it all. The previous speaker mentioned zoning changes. That is something we can do and we should look at, and I think I'm going to end there.
So, el board no puede hacer el trabajo solo. Este es un trabajo que se requiere un equipo. Y se requiere el mayor, se requiere diferentes departamentos para poder trabajar en este trabajo. Y eso es todo.
Good evening. My name is Vendra Falada Kalita Maria Smith.
Buenas noches.
Unfortunately, we lost the Spanish in my family about 3 generations ago.
Hace 3 generaciones perdimos el español en mi familia, pero me encanta escucharlo.
I'm running for the position of Alderman for Ward 6.
The Alderman, the Ward 6.
And what made me get up off my sofa, leave my Netflix, stop watching CNN, turn off the MSNBC, is what is going on here today.
Lo que me hizo soltar mi teléfono, mi Netflix, mi CNN y todo lo demás que ella ve fue la situación que está sucediendo hoy en día.
It's about accountability, transparency, and education of all of you. It's not about us.
Esto no es de nosotros, es de todos ustedes. Las transferencias, educación.
It's about you. We're supposed to represent you.
Nosotros lo estamos representando a ustedes.
And I know for me, I've been living here for just about 10 years, so I'm just a baby compared to all of my colleagues.
Nada más tengo 10 años viviendo acá, soy la bebé de todos mis compañeros.
But you know, it's unfortunate when individuals are not actually coming to us asking for our opinions. Why are we just now hearing these stories? Your older person should have already known these stories and should have been doing something already.
Dije, ya tenían que haber escuchado su historia. So ella dice que es triste que apenas ahora están escuchando de todo lo que está sucediendo.
It's important to me that I'm not just knocking on doors to get a vote, but we should be knocking on doors to get the information, using the technology we have to keep everyone informed so that you are letting us know what's going on.
Deberían de estar tocando puertas para conseguir la información y usando la tecnología que tenemos para poder conseguir la información de los residentes de acá y saber qué es lo que está sucediendo.
So that when we are at these meetings where decisions are being made that impact your life, impact your ability to live here, impact your ability to eat, that impact your ability to have basic human rights, we should be making those decisions together. Because of course we care about all of you in our community, but we're gonna need to get together to do that and not let things cloud the issue. Everyone should know about housing opportunities for buying a house. Just hearing that now, how many heard that for the first time here?
¿Quién ha escuchado esa información de la ayuda que tienen para la gente de comprar casa por primera vez?
All of us have known that if you can buy a house, it's a lot cheaper than renting.
Muchos hemos escuchado que si compra una casa es más barato que rentando.
My other concern is why are there so many outside individuals renting to us here in Nashua? Why is someone who's out of state raising the rent and not realizing the impact it has on the community?
¿Por qué hay gente fuera de Nashua rentándole al residente de Nashua y subiendo la renta sin saber el efecto que le está causando a la gente aquí?
Yeah, as your representatives for the community, you need to hold us accountable so we can give you the information, and we need to hold all these individuals accountable regarding this housing issue. It can't be solved if we want to do it together.
So, este es un problema que no se va a resolver si no trabajamos toditos juntos.
I tend to speak softly, so I will try. If I sound a little hoarse, it's because I'm trying to scream. But my name is Sandra Ziem, and I am running for Ward 7 Alderwoman.
Está trabajando, corriendo por Ward 7.
My views tend to differ somewhat from some of the other members here tonight. I served 4 years on the New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority.
Trabajé 4 años en New Hampshire Housing.
And I have been 51 years as a New Hampshire real estate broker. I own my own.
de real estate.
Yes, I own my own lending company as well as real estate company.
Yo tengo mi propia compañía.
Took 51 years though.
51 años para poder tener mi propia compañía.
Having said that, and I think it would be somewhat of a conclusion. Actually, the remarks I made, I have changed completely because of what I've seen here. I look at your faces and it breaks my heart.
Veo su cara y me rompe el corazón porque he escuchado la historia de lo que está sucediendo.
I wish we had simple solutions to solve these problems, but we do not.
Y me gustaría tener una respuesta sensible para este problema, pero no la tenemos.
But my concern is that we need more information.
Mi preocupación es que yo siento que necesitamos más información.
I'm very involved in the community, but I can tell you there are any number of questions about real estate, about the housing that the city is building. For instance, how many total units are currently being built? I have no idea. I know it's a lot because I've seen buildings, but I have no idea how many they are.
Yo no sé en verdad cuántos edificios han construido. Yo trabajo.
Because of that lack of knowledge, and after some of the others, I believe it would be in the best interest of our city if we did have some kind of special group that represented this, just as you are doing here. This church has actually set the example for what we need to do as a city, in my view.
Creo que esta iglesia ha dado la razón de lo que debemos de hacer. Deberíamos de tener un grupo que nos represente y que hable sobre la situación.
But it is very time consuming and does not. I do not think there are easy solutions. I don't see, for instance, if we have 400 units and only 20% of them are being subsidized, then the other 80% are still way out of reach, just way out of reach.
So, si hacemos, vamos a decir, 400 unidades, y de esas 400 unidades nada más un 20% son que se puedan pagar, significa que todavía queda un 80% que no se puede rentar.
So my plea would be for more information for all of us as the public.
No es un trabajo fácil, pero lo que yo necesito es más información de la comunidad.
And I would recommend that we form some kind of public participating.
Que le puedan informar a algún participante sobre la información. Gracias.
Good evening. My name is Tim Sennett. I'm also running for Ward 7 Alderman here in Nashua. And 2 minutes hurts.
Tenemos a Tim here y representando a la comunidad número 7.
2 minutes hurts because this is an issue that's, that we're seeing up close and personal in Ward 7 right now, especially in the Crown Hill neighborhood. Crown Hill's ripe for the development. You know, we've seen a lot of new development in that neighborhood over the past few years, but it's not enough.
Duele esta situación porque solamente tenemos 2 minutos para hablar de un tema tan difícil. Y en la área de Crown Hill hemos visto los que desarrollan las viviendas que han podido construir ahí.
It's not enough and it's not moving quickly enough. And unfortunately, that's just the reality of the world. Development can only move at so quickly a pace.
No es suficiente y los desarrolladores, pues, por más que quieran construir, no se pueden agilizar en el proceso.
You know, as far as what we can do to begin addressing this, I mean, this is the start of it right here. Having these conversations, hearing stories from Javier, from Tonya, stories we didn't hear from Glenn and Robin here tonight. This is the important part. This is the starting point for those of us up here who are asking for your vote, who are asking for the privilege to represent you, to understand the reality of what life is for you, because we only see what life is for us.
Y esto es bien importante que comenzamos desde aquí. Poder escuchar las historias de Javier, de Tony, las historias de lo que realmente está sucediendo para así pedir su voto y poder hacer un cambio.
And I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought here. This is an issue I'm very passionate about. But in addition to hearing these stories, we need to act, and we need to act aggressively. We need to act creatively, and we need to break down the barriers that are holding us back from acting as aggressively and creatively as we need to.
Necesitamos ser creativos y para romper estas barreras y poder hacer algún cambio para el beneficio de la comunidad.
And it's a complex issue. There's no real saying, you know, one thing that might look like here tonight. To speak back to one of Alderman Dowd's points, that might be a complete reevaluation of our zoning, of not, you know, being concerned about who our new neighbors might be, not looking at a tract of developable land and say, that's too good for affordable housing.
Es muy complejo la situación que estamos pasando y como dijo el compañero anterior, necesitamos pensar bien dónde vamos a construir y no decir, oh, eso es un lugar muy bonito como para construir viviendas que sean disponibles para las personas.
We need to stop thinking of affordability as a picture of what we're familiar with in our minds. You know, we need to expand where we can put affordable housing so that we can expand our housing stock and make it more available for everybody so that we're not putting everybody in one place and creating issues where, you know, eventually the housing that we have is going away and people are stuck in a situation that they need to get out of.
Tenemos que aprender a construir en diferentes áreas, no simplemente agrupar a unas solas personas que vivan en diferentes comunidades, así que necesitamos ser agresivos. Gracias.
Good evening, everyone. I'll try to be a little louder.
Buenas noches. Voy a estar un poco alto.
My name is Derek Tebow. I'm the Ward 8 Alderman. And I just want to thank the two groups that had us here tonight. I know 2 years ago, the Interfaith Council reached out to me, Rabbi John.
Hace 2 años hay diferentes dos grupos y le da gracias y bienvenida, pero la de organización de la fe se acercó hacia él.
And he wanted me to support the Inclusionary Zoning Act, and I said I would if I was elected. And I was elected, and I was proud to support that, except I just don't think it goes far enough.
Él quería que votaran por la zona inclusionaria y él salió el ganador y él ha sido partícipe de este cambio.
I had a developer in Ward 8 that decided to go right at the 49 houses when they said they were going to build 58 so they could get out of paying and get out of actually including any affordability. So that was a problem to me.
El problema era que querían que construyera 48 cuando en la realidad se necesitaba 59 unidades.
Now equity, I think equity, the first thing with equity is we need to have it in all neighborhoods.
Necesitamos tener equidad en todas las comunidades, la vivienda.
We have space on the Emerald Street corridor. We have space at the Daniel Webster corridor. We can branch out and have affordable housing anywhere in the city.
Tenemos diferentes localidades para poder hacer viviendas a precios cómodos.
I hate the word affordable. We've heard that tonight. Anytime I say affordable, people look at me funny. I say affordable, low rent. because I want to make sure they know what I mean by affordable.
Y por decir unas viviendas a precios cómodos, ¿verdad? Significa la renta baja.
And, you know, I think about my kids, they're in college, one's about to graduate next year. I don't think they're going to be able to live in Nashua. And that's a problem for me. Being a Nashuan, third generation, that's a problem.
Estoy pensando que tengo dos hijos, uno en la universidad y el otro que está terminando, y me doy cuenta que mis hijos no van a poder vivir aquí. Eso que tenemos tres generaciones en Nashua.
I had a constituent last week that lives in the apartments in Royal Crest that said they're going to have to move out because the landlord's bringing up their rent, and they've lived there for a long time. And again, we're losing seniors, we're losing good people, we're losing families to other cities and other towns, and we need to keep them here.
Tenemos la vivienda de Royal Crest y tenemos personas que se van a mudar porque también le van a incrementar la renta. Estamos perdiendo buenas personas mayores, buenas personas de nuestra comunidad por esta situación.
And we're building a ton. We're going to continue to build. I think we need to look at mixed use. You know, what they're saying with the zoning. We do mixed use. We can do, you know, businesses down below and build up with apartments above it. We need to do more of that. We need to start building up. I think that's important, and we need to make sure they're affordable. NeighborWorks is doing the, you know, next to CVS on Main Street. That's going to be affordable for lower rent. We need to up the supply. So that it meets the demand and that supplies more, that the landlords have to start coming down on their rent. So thank you.
Tenemos que también hacer la demanda, ¿verdad? De hacer negocios abajo y viviendas arriba. Así que necesitamos incrementar las viviendas, pero pensando que hacer como edificios más o menos. Gracias.
I am John Sullivan. I'm the Ward 9 Alderman running for re-election. I just want to say thanks to the Interfaith Council for doing this tonight. Not only getting everybody together to tell their stories, which are stories that I don't hear very often in my part of the city.
John Sullivan del área 9, él dice que le da gracias a esta organización de la fe, ¿verdad? De unir aquí, y él no ha escuchado estas historias en la área 9.
And I think it's also amazing that we were able to assemble all of these candidates together in one room and have a good discussion and let everybody have the time and the space to share their thoughts with where they come at it from.
Gracias por reunir a todas las personas participantes aquí, ¿verdad? Y cree que es un buen lugar, un buen espacio que se pudieron reunir las personas.
Some of the things that I've done, I'm the aldermanic liaison for the Building Industrial Development Authority. We also call it BIDA in the town. And basically what that is, it's a group of people from not only the city, but then also their developers and bankers on this board that meet once a month. And we discuss issues in the city about what developers and bankers face.
Él pertenece a un grupo, ¿verdad? Donde que se reúnen una vez al mes, donde que se reúnen desarrolladores que construyen las viviendas y también personas que trabajan en los bancos. Y ellos se reúnen una vez al mes para poder hablar de estas situaciones.
And one thing that they say is that they want to work more with the government of Nashua to move things along quicker. And let me tell you a story. Down on Ridge Road in Ward 9, they have finally approved 83 condominiums. They have yet to be built. When I first became alderman back in February of 21, they had a neighborhood meeting with the neighbors to tell them what it is they were going to do. We're now 2.5 years later, and they have yet to put a shovel in the ground for those 83 units on Ridge Road in Ward 9.
Dice que en área 9 dice que ya tienen 2 años en lista de espera de la construcción de 89 unidades. Así que hasta ya ha pasado 2 años y todavía él no ha visto que están excavando para hacer ninguna construcción.
So speed is one thing, and I think vision is the other.
La visión es una cosa y la construcción es otra.
We have a master plan that anybody can access off the city website. If you look at it, as Alderman Tebow said, you have Amherst Street, DW Highway, and in my ward, Ward 9, which straddles, Ward 6, is Northeastern Boulevard. There's another opportunity for us to reimagine what we can do with all the land. Thank
Dice
you.
él que hay muchas tierras donde construir, por ejemplo la Amherst, DW Highway, y hay otros lugares que deberían tomar en consideración para hacer las construcciones.
Good evening. Thank you for having us here this evening. My thanks to the Interfaith Council and the Granite State Organizing Project. Really appreciate the opportunity to address you this evening. So I'm Lori Wilshire. I've been on the Board of Aldermen for a few years. I guess the time limit doesn't really matter that much.
Ella es Lori y ella está aquí algunos años trabajando y le da muchas gracias a las dos organizaciones que pusieron esto juntos.
So the whole time I've been on the Board of Aldermen, I have been the liaison to the National Housing Authority. And I see a few people here that I know from meetings and people that I went to school with that are also interested in housing. I also worked at the National Housing Authority for 10 years, so I'm informed.
Dice ella que tiene 10 años trabajando para el Departamento de Viviendas de Nashua y reconoce a algunas personas aquí que hasta fue a la escuela con ellos.
So I'm informed about what affordable means and what low rent means. I get it. I actually, as a young mother, lived in public housing. I had 2 kids. I was a single mom. And then I lived there, and then I was hired by the Housing Authority. HUD had an initiative to hire residents because the initial intent of public housing was to move in, move up, move out, which is exactly what I did. So I credit the Housing Authority.
Dice ella que como madre soltera, ella entiende, madre soltera con 2 hijos, ella vivió en las unidades de vivienda, ¿verdad?, para bajos recursos. Ellos tenían una meta que era mudarse, vivir y salir de esas áreas. Y así es como ella logró tener un trabajo para el Departamento de las Viviendas.
So I do credit the Housing Authority for where I am today. I think they've made a difference in my life, and I will continue to support the efforts of the Housing Authority. I also sit on the Housing Trust Fund Committee with Christy and Bob Keating. Is Bob on that committee? He's not on that committee, but we do have some work ahead of us to decide what to do with the money that the mayor put into the Housing Trust Fund. But it's not just incumbent.
Dice que gracias a la junta que ella pertenece ahora con Christy, con Reverenda Christy y con Bob, ¿verdad? Y ella sabe del dinero que tiene el alcalde depositado en esta cuenta y están trabajando para ver cómo se puede usar.
It's not just incumbent upon us as a city to make this housing available. I mean, all the candidates here, all the candidates on this side, we need more. We need you. We need state, we need the federal government. I mean, we can't do it alone. I mean, this is a big task to get this much housing for all the people that need it. I am very passionate about housing.
Estoy muy apasionada sobre las viviendas, así que necesitamos a las personas, más candidatos, necesitamos trabajar a nivel estatal para poder hacer algún cambio.
So one of the things I really find that needs to happen is once these affordable units become available, the people that move in our businesses need employees. So what happens when people move into affordable housing is they free up other units for people. So I have to wrap it up.
Dice que ella ve que hay mucha necesidad, ¿verdad?, de las personas que están en los negocios y deberían ellos participar en las cuestiones de la vivienda. Y muchas gracias.
Hi everyone. Thank you. Ben Clemens for
Tenemos a Ben aquí que quiere ser elegido aquí para Nashua.
So thank you for having all of us here this evening. I am a lifelong Nashuan, so I have seen a lot of changes in my 41 years here.
Él ha vivido aquí en Nashua toda su vida, 41 años.
One of the challenges that we face is our proximity to Boston and to Massachusetts. So we have a very desirable city.
Tenemos una ciudad muy deseable comparada con Massachusetts.
There are a lot of people who work in Massachusetts that commute down, that live here and commute there to work. This is a desirable place to live.
Es un lugar deseado. Tenemos personas que viven aquí en Nashua y trabajan en Massachusetts.
And one of the challenges over the last 10 years has been keeping up with the demand for new units of housing.
Una de las situaciones más grandes que hemos tenido en los últimos 10 años es tratar de mantener viviendas.
We actually, if you think about it, we've actually added quite a few units of housing in Nashua. The problem is the majority of them, the overwhelming majority of them, have been market rate housing.
Tenemos que, lamentablemente, aunque hemos incrementado las viviendas, están a precios del mercado alto.
So the solution is obviously we have to keep building, but we have to build affordable housing. Some of my colleagues here have introduced some pretty good ideas this evening, like changing some of our zoning ordinances, also incentivizing some of the builders to be able to build more.
Aquí algunos de mis compañeros lo han mencionado, las cosas que debemos de hacer para hacer un cambio, y una de ellas es de incentivar a los que construyen las viviendas.
But it's not going to be done in Nashua alone. And so it's incumbent upon our state reps, our governor, to allow cities and towns to be able to put in place rent control of some kind.
Esta es una combinación de los representantes de cada estado y con el concejal, que podamos tener un control sobre que no hayan tantos incrementos de renta.
It's also incumbent upon our federal delegates, congressmen, our senators, to make sure that they don't do things like shut down the federal government when we have our largest employer here is BAE.
Así también como tenemos la compañía BAE, que es bien grande y es algo federal, para que ellos también aporten.
Not to mention the other federal folks who work here at the fish hatchery, at the FAA, and among many others.
También tenemos diferentes organizaciones, compañías federales que tenemos aquí en la ciudad.
So the solution has to be that we are all in as a community, that we are expressing to our representatives exactly what we need. Thank you very much.
Y tenemos que trabajar unidos aquí en la comunidad para hacer un cambio. Gracias.
Good evening. I'm Michael O'Brien. I'm a alderman at large. This is incumbent, seeking a position. I already served 2 terms, and also to prove that I'm a glutton for punishment, I have spent 16 years up at the State House there.
Dice que tiene 16 años trabajando y él representando aquí la ciudad.
And I'll tell you, I didn't catch your name, but I think you were spot on with your definition of what is affordable. That is a key, you know, because that can mean so many different things. And it depends upon your paycheck, what is affordable to you. In other words, what we're talking about here is a quality of life issue.
Él quiere opinar de Tania, que ella dio en el punto de decir qué es de unas viviendas que sean cómodas a cuanto usted gane, ¿verdad? Conforme lo que usted gane, eso es lo que va usted a pagar.
I don't think our founding fathers, when they came up with this country, but when they came up with the idea of having a roof over your head was part of the Constitution or anything. But it should be. We should take care, part of our jobs as city leaders is to make sure that people have nice, safe, affordable housing. Whether it be subsidized or whatever you want to call it, we need to explore that. Now,
necesitamos tener viviendas a cómodos precios, ¿verdad? Que eso es la tarea de los líderes que están aquí presentes hoy. Asegurarse que tengan un rufo bajo sus cabezas, ¿verdad? Las familias tengan donde vivir, llámese como se llame, pero que haya suficientes viviendas para la comunidad.
Now, fortunately, I'm also chairman of the Committee of Infrastructure. We do at times have developers coming up. They're looking to build in the city, and I agree totally what the mayor has said. But the thing is trying to encourage some of these developers to come in and to look at affordable type of housing for the community. But by definition, will it be adequate for all? So that's something else. And I'll tell you, I thank you for bringing that. It's in my head now, and I will think about it. And as I go on in the future,
Dice que gracias a la él también pertenece a una organización de la infraestructura, ¿verdad? De construir, que vienen muchas personas, desarrolladores de vivienda, a querer construir, pero realmente la palabra principal aquí es si es accesible, a precio accesible. Y esa es una palabra que se le quedó en su mente.
thank you. I'm of Irish descent. We love to gab, and so I'm not used to interpreter, but thank you so much. And
Dice
thank
gracias,
you
no está acostumbrado por intérpretes, así que eso
and
no.
our associate timekeepers here. You know.
Y gracias por las
But
personas que están tomando el tiempo.
I will make this commitment to you. You know, I spent 35 years on the fire department. I completely understand. And I will work with you in the future on this. I wish I had the answer today in 2 minutes, but I don't.
Dice que no tiene la respuesta en 2 minutos, pero como trabajador del departamento de los bomberos que trabajó 35 años, él quiere hacer asegurarse que él va a trabajar por esto, por la vivienda.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sean Rogers. I'm running for Alderman at Large. Thank you for having me. I do appreciate it. And one thing I'd like to say, is that everybody has had really good ideas here.
Él es Sean, muchas gracias por tenerlo aquí. Él tiene una pregunta que va a hacer. Go ahead.
All right. So first thing I'd like to say is that everybody had really good ideas here, from building to working with developers and banks, and to making sure that the economy is strong so that people can afford their housing.
Dice que le da muchas gracias a las personas que opinaron y que dieron esas ideas de construir, de los banqueros y de los desarrollos que van a hacer las viviendas.
But the problem of affordable housing, it comes up with every candidate forum going back years and years, and there's a reason for that, and the reason is that so many of the factors are totally out of the municipal government's control, unfortunately. The population pressure of people moving up here is out of our control.
Dice que hay muchos otros asuntos que están fuera del control de ellos. Por ejemplo, la cantidad de personas que se están mudando a este lugar.
The supply and demand
La demanda
that's causing the prices of housing here to be twice as much as most of the rest of the country.
La demanda que hay sobre la vivienda que están al doble como de otros estados.
The interest rates are out of our control.
Los intereses están fuera de control.
The fact that we have to, by law, rely to a great degree on property tax is out of our control.
También los impuestos de las propiedades también están fuera de los controles de ellos.
And that there's cities on all sides of us making it very difficult to expand in Nashua is out of our control. So there's a lot of factors that we don't have direct control over, unfortunately.
Hay muchos otros factores que están fuera del control de esta ciudad.
So it's a very hard problem to entirely fix. I wouldn't anticipate it being fixed completely anytime soon, unfortunately. But you know, I really appreciate everybody here who's had really good ideas for ameliorating the problem. And I think what it comes,
Lamentablemente dice que él no puede prometer solucionar este problema tan grande, ¿verdad? De lo que estamos pasando.
And I think what it comes down to is striking a balance, because you really want a city where people aren't super pressured to find a place to live, you know, and it's extremely difficult. I spent 15 years of my life, you know, living hand to mouth until my mid-30s.
Dice que es lamentable que ha pasado más de 15 años, ¿verdad? Tratando de solucionar estos asuntos.
But at the same time, at some point, if you can, if you get to a place where you're lucky enough to afford it, you also want a very, very nice place to live, and that's what we have here.
Que así como queremos un lugar bueno donde vivir, ¿verdad? A precios cómodos.
And what you want is, you want a place where there's green space, where there's houses with yards, and where people can raise a family when they're whether they're new or native to Nashua.
Aunque sea una persona nueva, familia nueva que se mude a Nashua o nativa, usted quiere que haya áreas verdes y un lugar más cómodo para vivir con sus familias. Gracias.
So before we close tonight, we have one more question for each of our mayoral candidates. And this time we're going to start with a question from Reverend Sally Newhall for our incumbent mayor, Jim Donches.
Entonces, antes de culminar, va a tener una pregunta que hacer al alcalde.
For more than 4 years, members of GSOP and in the Interfaith clergy group, Housing Justice Group, have met with you, and you've met with us, and to highlight the need for 2,000 new units of affordable housing stock in Nashua. At this time, by our calculations, the city has not yet met even 20% of this goal. If you are reelected, what steps will you take to ensure the development of 2,000 affordable housing units in this city?
Can I borrow your question? Thank you. Yeah. Dice que por más de 4 años las organizaciones de GSOP, las organizaciones de fe, aquí le han preguntado aquí al alcalde que ellos querían que se construyera 2,000 unidades aquí en Nashua y ya han pasado estos años y ni siquiera se han construido el 20%.
Well, your goal is very ambitious, of course.
Sus metas son bien ambiciosas, por supuesto.
And I think I appreciate your pressing us on this issue.
Y aprecio mucho las preguntas que hizo.
I think we have 2 projects now that are nearly complete, which can serve as a model for greater progress in the future.
Tenemos 2 proyectos que están aproximadamente a cumplirse.
Number 1 is the project I mentioned, Monahan Manor, at the former Bronstein apartment site.
El programa de la vivienda de Monahan que ya está construido.
Where, working with the Housing Authority, we were able to expand the number of units
Trabajando con las comunidades de las viviendas, hemos expandido esos números
from 48 to 216,
de 48 a 260,
serving an additional 150 families.
sirviendo más de 150 familias.
We can work with the Housing Authority again,
Podemos trabajar con la agencia de viviendas otra vez
and we're talking with them in detail right now
y estamos hablando detallemente con ellos ahora.
regarding the site on Burke Street,
Estamos hablando de las viviendas en la calle Burke,
Vaggie Village,
otra dirección también de Village,
where we can expand, at least in phase 1, what is now 100 units to 400 or 500.
Estamos hablando de expandir las viviendas de 100 unidades a 500 unidades.
Now, as part of our Monahan Manor project, I want to thank the Granite State Organizing Project for helping to create the condition
Quiero agradecer al GSOP, al Granite State, por ser partícipe,
that all residents who lived in Vaggie Village will be guaranteed a return to Monahan Manor in a equal or better unit.
Gracias a ellos, pues pueden volver las personas que vivían en el Village, pueden volver a los nuevos proyectos que están en Monahan.
And having seen Monahan Manor in the interior,
Y he visto el interior de estas viviendas que se llaman Monahan.
the apartments are much better than existed at Bronstein.
Los apartamentos son muy buenos, se ven mejores que como tenían antes Bronstein.
The other project we can use as a model is the 46 units that are being totally affordable, being built at 249 Main Street by NeighborWorks.
Hay otra vivienda en la 249 de la calle Main Street que han sido construidas 49 unidades.
This is a different model because we're working not with the Housing Authority, but with a very credible nonprofit landlord that's already in Nashua and runs their apartments very, very nicely, very cleanly for the benefit of the tenants.
Dice que así mismo están construyendo de diferentes modelos, ¿verdad? Está trabajando con una organización sin fines de lucro para dar unas viviendas más buenas, bonitas y en buenas circunstancias.
I believe we can work with them again beyond these 46 units in other projects to greatly expand the supply of affordable housing in the city.
podemos trabajar más adelante para proveer más viviendas con con este grupo.
And here again, we're working with a very credible partner who, once the project is complete, will operate these apartments for the benefit of the tenants.
Y también trabajaremos para proveer las viviendas con esta organización que nos va a dar la oportunidad de tenerlas a precios cómodos.
At rents the tenants can afford.
Y rentas con precios accesibles.
Now there's more we could talk about, but I'm limited to 2 minutes.
Hay más de lo que quisiéramos hablar, pero estoy limitado a 2 minutos.
Thank you. And Reverend Christy Basada will ask the next question. Come on up here, Christy, for mayoral candidate and current county commissioner Mike Susi.
La reverenda Christy va a hacer una pregunta al nueva persona que está corriendo como candidato a la alcaldía.
Just up. Can you hear me? Great. Thank you. First, Commissioner Susi, thank you for joining us this evening. We have so appreciated everyone who has been here. Oh, sorry.
Gracias al comisionado por haber estado aquí. Le queremos hacer una pregunta.
In years past, members of Granite State Organizing Project and the Interfaith community have sought ARPA funding from the county level to augment the funds in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Las organizaciones que hemos participado en esto tenemos fondos, ¿verdad? En diferentes. Where's the funding?
From the county.
Del condado, tenemos los fondos.
She's trying to translate off a page I have scribbled all over.
I just listened to you.
Oh, we changed it. Oh. Yeah, it's not the same question anymore. So the question I have for you is, at that time, we learned that the funding was only available for shovel-ready projects, the county funding.
La pregunta es que de los fondos que habían, eran proyectos que eran para construcciones inmediatas.
So it was not available to the Housing Trust Fund.
Y no estaba disponible a los fondos de confianza.
So the question is, if you are elected mayor, what will you do to prioritize the development of 2,000 affordable housing units in the city? Thank
Si
you
en
so
caso
much.
va a ser reelegido, ¿qué él nos va a decir sobre las 2,000 unidades de construcción?
Okay, we have to understand ARPA. All funds need to be ready by 2024, or that we know where it's going to go, and by 26 we're going to do it. Yeah, we're looking for shovel-ready projects. We're looking to fix the problem now, not 2, 3, 4 years down the road.
Dice que quiere solucionar los problemas ahora, no 2, 3 años más adelante.
Now, I'll say this. We received $81 million in American Rescue Plan money. We, Hillsborough County, by far, put out more ARPA funds than any other county or any city, well, we got more than the city anyways, than in the entire state of New Hampshire. Approximately $51 million went out of our 81 back into our communities.
Dice que ellos han puesto más de $51 millones para la comunidad.
Now, it didn't all go into housing. We went into different tracks. We had the nonprofits. We had transportation for people who have transportation. And we're responsible for 29 communities. So
Son responsables de 29 comunidades y el dinero no solo fue para viviendas, fue para también transportación y otras organizaciones.
I don't think building 2,000 condos, apartments, affordable, which I hate that word because I agree with Alderman O'Brien, it should be income-based for housing. And we can build 2,000 or 3,000. But what good does that do to anyone over here if I build you 5,000 and 2,500 people come up from Lowell or Massachusetts because it's so much more expensive to live down there, and they come up here and they're taking our homes? Can't we maybe come up with some incentives?
Él dice que, por ejemplo, ¿de qué le vale a él construir 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 unidades si las unidades van a ser para personas que vengan de otros estados como Lowell y Mass?
For developers to be able to rent to the people already here. Okay, we're a welcoming city, we should be. Okay, we want people to come up here, but if you look at the culture of Massachusetts,
Por ejemplo, podemos ver las construcciones que tenemos ahora que han cambiado y tenemos que necesitar tener personas de Massachusetts.
As opposed to New Hampshire, you can take the 4 largest communities in Massachusetts and add in one more. Boston, Worcester, Springfield, Lowell, let's throw in half of Lawrence, okay?
Tenemos 4 comunidades de Massachusetts bien grandes, Springfield, Worcester y sabrá Dios.
There are more people there than our entire state. It is far more expensive to live in Massachusetts.
Dice que es bien caro vivir en Massachusetts y más que aquí.
So why not come up here, live here, and then go work in Massachusetts where you can make a better income?
¿Por qué no vivir aquí, trabajar aquí y poder ir a trabajar en Massachusetts?
So we kind of really need to know who's getting into these homes that we're building. We can build, but who are they going to be for?
Tenemos que saber para quién construimos, cuáles son las personas que se van a mudar en estos apartamentos.
And lastly, for affordable housing, okay? I want income-based housing, but it's never going to be affordable if we can't get our property taxes reduced. When property taxes go up, okay, then the landlords are paying for that because renters don't pay property tax. The landlords are paying for that. And they have to bump up the rents too. We have to get property taxes.
Tenemos que reducir los impuestos porque si los dueños de casas tienen las viviendas que tienen que pagar impuestos altos, entonces tienen que incrementar los precios de las casas.
One more word. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you so much to everyone for joining us for this important conversation tonight.
Gracias a todos por estar aquí esta noche y en esta reunión con nosotros.
And I want to offer a special thank you to our translators.
Dice un aplauso para las intérpretes.
Angela and Tracy.
Thank you.
And thank you to our 2 groups who are sponsoring tonight, the Granite State Organizing Project and the Greater Nashua Interfaith Housing Justice Group.
Gracias a GSOP, la organización de fe también por estar en esta noche.
And we really hope that this is the beginning of a conversation, not the end. No matter who is elected, we hope that we will continue to be in conversation with you. We expect to continue to be in conversation with you.
Esperemos que esto sea el comienzo, no el final de las conversaciones, no importa quién sea elegido, así que esperamos que continuemos así.
So as we go, may we all leave this place with a renewed commitment to the work of housing justice and to using whatever power we have to move toward the goal of every person in Nashua having access to a safe, affordable place to live.
Como nos estamos yendo ya, vamos a ponernos a pensar de lo importante que es tener vivienda a precios cómodos para la comunidad.
As we depart, would you please join me in offering one more round of applause to our speakers and our candidates in gratitude for their participation.
Un aplauso a todos los que participaron.
Thank you so much, and don't forget to vote.
Gracias y no se olviden para votar.